This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. So now we are moving to the next chapter, chapter number 6, tissues. So this is the first part. In this chapter, we are learning about plants and animals. They are made up of same type of tissues or not. Then what are plant tissues and what are animal tissues? About these three main concepts we are learning. Okay. So you know that in the previous chapter we have learned that organisms are there, living and non-living organisms. Okay, living things are there, non-living things are there, right? So here the living things, we have learned living things, they are made up of what? They are made up of cells, right? So all living organisms are made up of cells, that we have learned. And in unicellular organism, and organisms are there, which type? Unicellular. Living organisms are of different types, like unicellular, right? And multicellular. This also we have learned. So how we are connecting that chapter and this chapter means unicellular organism we have learned. It's made up of single cell, right? And this single cell is doing, or it is performing all the basic functions, right? This single cell is doing all functions, right? So for example, amoeba we said. Amoeba, right? So what amoeba is doing? Amoeba, it is a single cell or a unicellular organism that is moving from one place to another place, right? So the movement that is done by that single cell, isn't it? So movement is by that single cell. Then next what we need to tell? The intake of food. So in amoeba we have seen movement, then intake of food, then excretion, gaseous exchange. Gaseous exchange. Everything, all the functions are performed by this single cell, right? So in unicellular organism, we can see that all the functions are performed by that single cell. Almost important functions are performed by the single cell. And the example you need to give, which example you need to give? Amoeba. In amoeba, that single cell is carrying out all the important functions of the body. So that intake of food, then excretion of waste material, gaseous exchange in body, then movement, everything is done by that single cell. But in the case of multicellular organism, this is about unicellular, we said, right? All these points. Then multicellular. Let's see what is happening in multicellular. In multicellular organism, so many cells are there, right? Many cells are present in multicellular organism. That may be million of cells or maybe few cells. Like that, multicellular means other than the single cell condition, right? Multi, many cells will be present. That may be depending upon the organism, number of cells may vary, right? So there are multicellular organism with million of cells in that. So most of the cells in multicellular organism, most of the cells are specialized to carry out specific functions. Okay, so in multicellular organism, most of the cells are having specific function. Okay, their function is specific, like each and every cell won't carry out all the work. It's not like that. Each specialized function is done by different group of cells. Okay, so specific function we said this is done by group of cells. Group of cells, not all groups of cells, specific group of cells. Okay, so like that we need to differentiate. In unicellular organism, single cell is performing all the functions. In multicellular organism, there will be group of cells to perform specific function. Almost all the cells will be carrying out their functions. It doesn't have a meaning that all the cells are involved in all the functions. Okay, it's not like that. Their specific group of cells are there to perform specific functions. See, one particular group of cell will be doing one function. Okay, they may be interrelated. Their function, there will be a coordinated way of working. But whatever may be, a group of cells, a specific group of cells will be assigned a specific function. Like that it is. Okay, and altogether they will work in a coordinated way so that the body or the multicellular organism's body can function in a smooth way. That's a way of working. Okay, so each specialized function is taken up by different group of cells. Okay, so these cells, these specific group of cells, so that specific group, these specific group of cells, they are carrying out specific function, we said, right? Or a particular function. But these group of cells, they are carrying out one particular function, right? One particular function. Specific function in the sense one particular function is carried out by one group of cells, or they're performing only one type of function. And that function they will do in an efficient way. Okay, that they are doing efficiently. Okay, so in the case like amoeba, we said as an example for unicellular organism. Multicellular organism, we have a very common example, which is that human beings, right? In multicellular organism, example, human being. See, we can connect the previous chapter on this one. There we said in human being, you can see different types of cells, right? So here, different types of cells, what and all you have seen? Nerve cells, then bone cells, blood cells, then what? Epithelial cells, sperm, egg. So different types of cells you have seen, right, in human beings. Which and all types of cells you can see in human beings? Nerve cells or neurons. Then egg, sperm, bone cells, blood cells, epithelial cells. So all these types of cells you can see, and we have seen the structural difference also, right? The structure is different. That time we said structure is different and it is designed according to their function. So which type of function it is performing according to that, that shows structural variations or structural difference also, right? So in human beings you can see different types of cells, and each type of cell is having a specific function. So here in human being we can say like nerve cells, right? Nerve cells are there. So these nerve cells, what it will do, that will carry messages. Nerve cell is doing what it is doing? Messaging. Messaging means from brain it is passing messages to different places, right? So these nerve cells carry messages. And blood cell, blood cell, what blood cells are doing? Blood cells, they are helping for the transport. transport of oxygen, right? Then transport of food, transport of hormones, food, hormones. So such transport work, which one is doing, and then waste material also. So for that, blood cells are helping, right? Then muscle cells are there in human being, right? So these muscle cells, what it will do, that is helping for the movement. Muscle cells are helping for the movement. So you know that multicellular organism, we are saying human being is a as an example. So in human being, you can see we can make movements, we can move from one place to another place. And not only that, you can make or you can move your hands, you can move your fingers, right? You can move your legs, toes, right? Even we can speak. So while speaking, your jaw movement is taking place, right? So here the lower part you can move, right? Then your whole body you can bend. So that is with the help of muscle cells. So these muscles, even the muscle cells are helping for cardiac movement also. Cardiac muscles are helping for the movement for the of that part, right? So each and every movement is with the help of muscle cells. Then, which is giving strength and structural shape to our body bonds. So there are, that is also composed by different cells. So each and every cell or a group of cells, muscle cells, which are a group of cells, they have specific function. They have a specific function or which is helping for movement, right? Nerve cell, it is helping for passing messages all over the body, right? Then egg, sperm, all these are helping for reproduction, right? These cells are meant for reproduction. Bond cells, they are giving shape and structure to our body, bond cells, right? And inside bone marrow, several cells are getting formed, that bone marrow cell synthesis and all. You will learn in higher class, bone marrow cells, that formation and all. Okay. Here, next, blood cells we said. That another common thing which we can easily get, you can easily remember, blood cell. Blood cell, it is helping for transport of oxygen, then transport of food, food absorption is taking place there, then hormone transport, for everything blood cells are helping. Okay, in detail you will learn in higher class, 11th and 12th. Okay, so blood cells, then epithelial cells, all different types of cells are there, like different groups of cells, and each group of cell, they are having specific function, isn't it? And next, this is in the case of animals. What about plants? Plants. In the case of plants, we can say vascular tissues or vascular bundle. Vascular tissues. This is to conduct food and water from one part of the plant to other part. Conduct food and water. Food and water from one part, one part of plant to other part. Other parts of plants. So multicellular, this is in the case of plants. Plants also have many cells, right? It is also multicellular. So here multicellular organism, basically from all these, what we can say, or a conclusion, what we can say, multicellular organism, there you can see division of labor. In which one? In multicellular organism. Division of labor means they are dividing their labor or their work, right? So that each group of cell can perform their specific function. So there is a division of labor, you can see, in multicellular organism. And this Division of labors, we said each group of cells, they are dividing. See this group of cells that is having one function. This group of cells in plants, you can see other type of cells. They have one type of function. And here, this means a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells or a group of cells, and that will be present in one place, right? Nerve cells, we said. In the case of human being, we said nerve cells, right? Nerve cells, there, that is a cluster or a group of cells which are performing one particular function, like passing the messages, right? And it is present only in that area, in the area of brain. There you can see nerve cells, right? In the nervous system, there it is present, right? Not in any other place. In intestine, you can see neurons or nerve cells. No. In your muscles, you can see. In your blood, you can see nerve cells. No. So there is a particular place for that specific cells which are performing one specific function. Okay. So here, cells which are specializing in one function, they are grouped together in the body. So this means that particular function is carried out, or that particular function is done by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. Okay, so that group of cells which are performing one particular function, group of cells which are performing particular function, that is called tissues. Okay, so tissue, how can we define tissue? The cluster of cells which are present at a particular place in the body and that is carrying out a specific function. Okay, that is called as tissues. So that cluster of cells which is called as tissues, that is arranged and designed to give the highest possible efficiency for that particular function. Okay, so we said muscle cells or blood cells, they are present in particular place of body and they are working together. Those group of cells are working together and they are working in maximum efficient way to give the maximum result. Okay, so they are designed in such a way that to give the maximum result or the highest possible efficiency of that particular function. Okay, so in animals we can see blood cells. Then in plants we can see phloem, xylem, phloem, and all. In that phloem we can see. Then muscle cells, in blood cells and muscle cells. In animals, again muscle cells. So the maximum efficiency, they will work with maximum efficiency or the maximum result they'll be able to give in such a way that is designed and located in a body. Clear? So that's how we can define a tissue, group of cells which is doing a particular function, okay, in a particular place in the body of a living organism, and that will be able to, their structure is in such a way that they can give the particular work, a result of that particular work which is assigned to that group of cells or that tissues in their maximum. The result should be the maximum. So in that way, their structure is defined. Okay, the structure is formed in such a way. So group of cells which are having similar structure and they have assigned a particular work, they will together they will perform and they will give a maximum result. So that is called as a tissue. Clear? Now from previous chapter you have learned about cell, then inside cell how it is present, inside cell what and all there, what and all the cell organelles and how these cell organelles are working and what is this function of each cell organelle. Everything you have learned. So from cell you're coming to group of cells which are called as tissues and how they are working. That you're going to learn here, right? And next topic here, are plants and animals made of same type of tissues? We said living organisms are made up of cells and group of cells forms the tissues. And these group of cells which are called as tissues, they are performing particular function, and each tissue is having a specific function, right? So here we are saying, or we are asking a question like plants and animals made of same type of tissue. You can see same type of tissue in plants and animals. That's our question. So here, just think, just think whether plants and animals, they have the same structure. In the case of cell itself, you have learned there is difference in between plant cell and animal cell, right? Main difference what you can see, there is a cell wall which is present in the plant cell, and animal cell. These cells are only making the group of cells called tissues. So whether the basic structure is different, then you can see difference in the group of cells also, right? So here you can see whether plants, structurally plants and animals, they are different. You know that they are not having the same structure. Okay, and structure of plants and animals, that is different, right? What about the function function of plants and animals? That is also different. So there are, like, we can say both are living, but there are differences also between plants and animals, right? One of the major thing which we can say is plants plants are fixed to one place, right? That cannot move from one place to another place, right? Plants are plants are fixed, or they are not moving from one place to another place. Then another one, they have upright position, right? Upright means they have like a standing position, right? Their root is fixed in the soil and they have upright structure or upright position, right? So they have to be upright, and for that upright position they need so much of support. So they have supportive tissues, right? So they have supportive tissues, and these supportive tissues generally we can say they are made up of dead cells. Okay, but here in the case of animals, just think next is animals. So here animals, they can move, right? They are moving and they can move around, they can search food and they can search their mate, they can find out their shelter. For all these they need to make movements, right? All animals, we are saying generally in the case of animals, for searching food they need to move around. So to search their mate they need to move around, and to find out their food they need to move around, right? So they have more work, right? This work is extra for them, so they need more energy compared to plants. Need more energy compared to plants. So plants need more energy compared to plants. So most of the tissues which the animals have, most of the tissues are living tissues. Okay, most of the tissues in animals are living tissues, right? So we, even animals have Non-living tissues like our nails and all, we can say that is a dead one, right? Then even though compared to plants, animals need more energy, right? So they need more energy. So most of the cells are living tissues. Most of the tissues are living tissues in the case of animals, and each and every cell in that tissue will work to produce energy, right? Because they need more energy. Animals need more energy. Then another difference between animals and plants. Let's see the other difference between plants and animals, that is pattern of growth. Pattern of growth in plants and animals. So pattern of growth between plants and animals. See, we know that the growth of plants, that is limited to certain regions, right? But in the case of animals, it's not like that. And in plants, we know that some tissues or some cells, we can say, like they will divide throughout their life. Throughout their life. See, so generally we can say that plants have the ability to grow throughout their life. Not all the parts. There you need to specify not all. Certain region, the cells of certain region, they have the power to divide throughout their life. Okay, so these kind of tissues or cells, they are located in some areas or some regions. Okay, based on that, located in some regions. Which one? This dividing throughout their life, we said some cells or some tissues have the capacity to divide throughout their life, and these cells are located in some regions or some part of that plant body. Okay, so based on that dividing capacity of the tissue, different like various plant tissues can be classified as permanent tissue and meristematic tissue and all. So based on that growing capacity or dividing capacity, plant tissues are divided into meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue. Meristematic means growing or dividing tissue, then permanent tissue. Permanent tissues. Okay, so based on the capacity of division or capacity of growth in plants, the tissues are divided into meristematic tissue. Meristematic means continuous division. Okay, they have the capacity to divide continuously. And permanent tissue means they don't have the capacity to divide or grow throughout their life. Okay, that is called as permanent tissue. But in the case of animals, see, this is in the case of plants, right? What is there in animals? In animals, their growth in animals, that is almost uniform. Okay, So we can say that there is nothing like a dividing region and a non-dividing region in plant cells. Their growth or their division, that is almost cell division, that is almost uniform. Like one part will grow throughout life, another part will not grow, it is permanent, nothing like that. Okay, based on the demand of the body, all the parts of the cell or the cell, all the parts of body, or the if cell is damaged, it will get replaced like that. Okay, so according to the need of the body in animals, tissues or cells will work. But here in the case of plants, what is happening? Some part of that plant body will grow. They have the capacity to grow or divide throughout the life. Right? If you're cutting a plant, the tip of the plant we are cutting, it will grow. Right? Again, it will regrow and new branches will form. Why it is so? Because there or that place is having cells to divide, or those cells are dividing and they are growing. That plant part is getting regenerated, right? Or it is forming again, right? New branches forming. That means that part of that plant is having dividing cells. Okay, and some part, if you are cutting also, that won't grow. That means, or it won't reform. That means they have permanent tissues. There is no growing cells or tissues in that part. That's the meaning of that. Okay. But in the case of animals, based on the need, almost all the cells are in a uniform way, the division. Okay. There is no part like permanently it won't grow, and in one part throughout life cycle it will divide. Nothing like that. Okay. See, the each and every point what I'm saying, that is the difference between plant and animal. That's why the heading is plants and animals made of same type of tissues. Here I'm saying, first we said one is fixed and one is stationary. Sorry, one is fixed and another one is able to move. That is the first difference. Okay, under that, within one or two sentences you can write whatever you want, you want to explain. Okay, in a simple way you can explain. Animals are moving, they need more energy, so that type of cells they have. Plants are fixed, they're upright, so they need supportive tissues more. And the second difference we said, they have different pattern of growth, and their growth is limited to certain regions. In plants and animals, it's like that. So that is the second difference. And third one, structural organization. Third point, we are saying structural organization of organs and organ system. Okay, structural organization. Okay, of organs and organ system, that is more specialized and localized in complex animals. Okay, compared to plants. In complex plants also that is having, but compared to that plants, it is more complex in animals. See, this structural organization, that is based on the mode of living, right? So this is based on the mode of living or mode of life which is pursued by these plants and animals. Okay, because both plants and animals both have different feeding habit or feeding methods. Okay, and they are differently, or they are adapted for locomotion. Which one? Plants can do locomotion, right? Sorry, plants cannot do locomotion because they are not able to move from one place to another place. But animals, in that locomotion is there, right? So they have more active cells because they need more energy. We have already told that plants are not moving, they have upright position, or they are having their structure is in such a way, right? But animals, they are making movements, right? So that structural organization, see, plants don't want to move, so their structure is defined in a such a way, or their structure is in such a way, it is designed in a way that they don't want to make locomotion. But in the case of animals, see, we said they have several needs, right? They need to move from one place to another food, they need to search for, think about the animals like cattle and all, they are searching for their food, right? In a forest you can see different types of animals, they are searching for their food, so they need to move from one place to another place, and to chase their food they need to run sometimes, so they need more energy. Their locomotion is, they are making locomotion and they need more energy to chase their prey. So what will happen, their structure, if they are like a stiff body, they cannot make movement, they won't get energy, they won't get food. So that structural organization, that depends upon the organism, the living organism and their need. Okay, so here in animals you can see different organs and organ system. So based on all these, the concept of tissue that came in animals, you can see organs, different organs and organ system, right? We know that the organ, one particular organ for one particular function, lungs for breathing, right? And organ systems are there, right? So that is helping, that is from cell to tissue, cells are forming tissues, group of cells are forming tissues, then tissues are forming organs, then organ system, and that forms the complete body, right, in animals. So that's how now we are in the basic levels about tissues we are learning. So that organ system and organ or tissues, all these are formed based on the need of that animal. Okay, so from that, the function it is performed, based on that, all these, the concept of tissues came, right? So here you are getting two questions like what is a tissue and what is the utility of tissue in multicellular organism, right? So it's clear, hope it's clear what is the need of that tissue in a multicellular organism, because multicellular organism, they have a very complex body structure. In most of the organism you can see complex body structure, so one cell cannot perform and fulfill the need of that body. So what will happen, they will form many groups of cells for a particular function. One group of cell will perform one particular function so that it can give energy, or it can make the fulfill the need of that complete organism's body, right? So they are making groups, and according to the function their structure is also different, right? Each group of cells are performing one specific function, and based on that function which it performs, their structure also varies. Clear? So now we know that plants and animals, they are not made up of same type of tissues. According to the need, it is different. So let's see plant tissues. First, we will learn about plant tissues. Okay. So while learning about plant tissues in your textbook, we have an activity, activity 6.1 in your chapter tissues. So here we are going to compare the growth of two onion roots. Okay. So what do you need to do? How you are going to do this experiment or activity? You are going to take two onion bulbs. See, two onion bulbs. It's common at your home, right? You can take two onion bulbs from kitchen and place it on jar. Here one onion bulb, first onion bulb you are placing in first jar and next one in second jar. Okay. And here you can see, like in these two figure, you can see how it is placed. Okay. And water should be there in that. You can keep the onion bulb. So here you can observe the roots are growing. You can observe that slightly the roots will start growing. Okay, then you can measure when the growth starts. After first day you can see when it is growing, the growth you can see the growth of onion root tip. So first day you can measure the length, second day you can measure the length, third day you can measure the length, you can make a chart. Okay, then the fourth day, what you're going to do, fourth day, when the fourth day comes, from jar 2, one jar you leave as such. You can do from whichever you want as per your convenience. One jar you keep as such without cutting the root tip. And from the next jar, take the next jar, and from that you cut the, first you need to measure before cutting. All 4 days you need to measure the root length. Then after measuring the root length, you cut the any one jar you select and cut the onion root tip from that around 1 centimeter. Okay, around 1 centimeter you cut that. Okay, then again you are placing both onion bulbs there, and the growth is continuing. You observe observations, you need to continue. Then observe the growth of root in both the jars. Okay, and measure the length. Okay, for another 5 days you measure the length. Then you need to observe the observations you need to make. So here what you can see here, see after cutting first day, suppose you are making a table. First day, first jar, second jar, growth started. So first day you got around, just a just to understand I'm saying here, you're cutting, and day 1 what you will get, day 1 suppose you are getting, okay, it's grown 0.5, in this also 0.5, and next one it became 1 centimeter, here also 1 centimeter, next it became 1.5, in second jar also 1.5. This is second day and third day. Fourth day you are measuring, it became 2 centimeter, suppose it became 2 centimeter in which one, okay, that much growth until you cannot within 1 day, it won't grow like that. But just to understand for your convenience, I'm taking these examples. Just fourth day when you're measuring, it's around 2 centimeters. Okay, here also it will be 2 centimeters. Again you are cutting the whole 2 centimeters, all the roots, see here number of roots will be there, right? Everything you are cutting from base, you are cutting. Okay, you're cutting and removing it completely, that all roots. So here on fifth day, here the growth will be 2.5, but here it's not there. Okay, you cannot see any growth. Why? So why you're not able to see? On fourth day you're cutting the root tips of the onion, root tip you are cutting. Okay, whole, you need to make sure that everywhere you're cutting the root tips. Okay, the whole roots, all roots you are cutting, like white, see this is the root tip, means here you can see white growth, like a color difference you can see the growing tip. Okay, that you're cutting. Then again fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth day you're measuring, again another 4 or 5 days you're measuring the root length. In this, in the first one which we are not touched, without cutting, which you have kept, that will continue the growth. But in the second one where you have cut and removed all the root tips, there you cannot see further growth. Okay, so what you can understand from this, there the growth of root, here also tip part only you removed from everything. So the growth, the growing tip you removed, and it is not showing further growth. That means the growth, it is located, the dividing cells are located to that particular region. That's what it means. Okay, so here you can learn that in the second jar, after cutting, you are not able to see any growth. Okay, so here we will get some questions. Which of the onions has longer root? Which one has longer root? Longer root. Which one? Jar 1. Jar 1. Onion bulb of jar 1. Right, that is having longer root. Second question is, do the roots continue growing even after we have removed their tips? No, it's not growing again. Right? Why? You can observe this. Simply, you can do this activity at home. You can observe this. It's not. Okay. Why would the tip stop growing in jar 2? It's not growing. We have got the answer. And why? Why it's not growing in the second jar or the jar 2 after we cut them? Why it is not growing? There is a reason. Okay. So for this, we are giving a solution, or like we are getting an answer like growth of plants that occur only in certain or specific region. We said in plants also, like permanent tissues are there, dividing tissues are there. Throughout the life cycle, when it is dividing, and those cells are not present all over the plant body, it is located to specific areas, we said, or specific regions. So the growth of plant occurs, growth of plant occurs in specific regions. Okay, so to specific regions, this growth of plants, it is taking place. And why the growth is taking place? It is due to the dividing cells. Dividing cells. In these, we said growing regions are there, specific regions are there in plants, their growth is taking place. Why or how the growth is taking place? Because in that specific regions, growing or dividing cells are present, or dividing tissues are present. So these cells or tissues are present. These are called as meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues, dividing or growing tissues, they are called as meristematic tissues. And these meristematic tissues you cannot see all over the plant body. It is located to specific regions or specific points. So depending upon the regions where it is present, this tissues, meristematic tissues, are classified. Okay, so depending upon where it is present, the meristematic cells are classified. Okay, here see the location of meristematic tissues in plant bodies. See, I said dividing tissues or cells are present in different regions of plant body. So only in that region growth is taking place, not all over the plant body. Okay, it is located to specific regions. So based on the region where it is present, these meristematic tissues are classified as apical meristem, second one is lateral meristem, third one is intercalary meristem. Okay, apical meristem, lateral meristem, based on the position in the plant body where it is present or location in the plant body, meristematic tissues are divided into three: apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Okay, apical meristem, here you can see the position in this figure. You can see This is the apical meristem, the position in the growing tips. Then the intercalary meristem, here it is, and the lateral meristem you can see here. Okay, so this diagram just to mark, it will be easy to write with the help of this diagram. Okay, so new cells produced by meristems. They are initially like those of meristem, but when they are growing and maturing, their characters or characteristics slowly it will change and they'll get differentiated as components of other tissue. See, first when it is forming, it will be having that meristematic cells or tissue characters. But when it is growing and maturing, it will become the parts or the components of other tissues. Okay. Then here we can see apical meristem that is present at the growing tips. Present at the growing tips. Here in the onion root tip, what we have seen apical meristem. When we remove that apical meristem which is present, or the growing cells or the apical meristem which is present at the growing tip of that onion root, that growing part gone, then it cannot divide further. That's why there is no growth after cutting and removing that root tip. Okay, so apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stem and root. Okay, growing tips of stem and root. And how it works, that increases the length of stem and root. Increases. See, when here it is dividing, or in the root tip it is dividing, number of cells are increasing. So that's how it is increasing the length of stem and root. Increases the length of stem and root. So apical meristem that is present in the growing root tips of stem and root, and when the cell is continuously dividing, that's how it is increasing the length of stem and root. Okay. Lateral meristem. Here you can see lateral meristem which is present on sides, right? Lateral sides it is present, and that increases the girth of the stem or root. Okay, lateral meristem here you can see, so that here when the cell is dividing, it will increase the girth. Increases the girth of stem and root. Which one? Lateral meristem. The girth of the stem or root increases due to the lateral meristem. Okay, this is the cambium. Later you can see the cambium. Then the intercalary meristem. Next comes the intercalary meristem, which is present here. You can see nodes. See here one new branch is there. So in that node, intercalary meristem is present. Near the node. Okay, so intercalary meristem is seen in some plants which is located near the node. So these are the different locations of meristematic tissue in the plant body: apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Okay, so apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stem and root. Then that increases the length of stem and root. Then lateral meristem. Next comes the lateral meristem, which is increasing the girth of stem and root. Okay, lateral meristem which is present on the sides. Okay, so when it is dividing, it will add cells, and that increases the girth or width. Here you can see, we'll tell girth of stem and root. Okay, so that the thickness of stem and root that will increase. Intercalary meristem that is present at the nodes. So that's how when we are cutting a branch, again it will grow because of the help of this intercalary meristem. Tip, when we are cutting, due to the help or with the help of this apical meristem, that is growing again, because their cells are there, meristematic cells are there which can divide and grow. When we are cutting the root, there the meristematic cells are present so that it can grow. That's what we have seen in the case of onion root tip. Clear? So in the next class, see this we have learned about, in this class we have learned about the meristematic tissue, and the next class we will be learning about the permanent tissue. Okay, permanent tissue means there you cannot see the division. Okay, throughout the life cycle it won't be dividing. Clear? Okay, thank you.